Forget tradition. This is Kia's take on a truck, the Tasman. You know, ever since the first photos of this car emerged, everyone has had an opinion, from motoring riders, car fans, everyone, and hey, I can see why, but now we can see it for real, see it in the flesh, because Kia have given us an exclusive sneak peek ahead of the New Zealand launch in August. Welcome to the garage.
Subscribe to see the first drives of New Zealand's newest and best cars driven on New Zealand roads and New Zealand conditions.
You know, few cars have caused as much of a stir as the Kia Tasman when they're unveiled. And look, I can understand why. Utes are traditionally conventional, and Kia said we are not going to be conventional with this car. And I will explain it just a bit. Traditionally, Utes are very safe and sound when it comes to design, utilitarian design approach, if you like. This is anything but. And I'll admit to being torn, have Kia gone too far, I was thinking, but people who had seen it in the flesh said to me, wait till you've done the same because you might change your mind. And I'll tell you right now, they were right. The second I saw this car, I thought Kia have done this right. It looks tough like a Ute should look. In fact, Tonka tough, which I think is really cool. The proportions are dead on, and that's really important. It looks like a truck should look, just not like other trucks have looked. Well, these wheel arch caps dominate the side, front and rear, and I'll show you something about the rear ones in a moment, and they sort of add to that whole toughness I talked about. But then you go to these headlight clusters and well, they're almost dainty, but they perfectly frame a real tough looking front end. Is it brave? Hell yes, but it's also striking, this whole front end. It's without doubt going to stand out from every other truck on the road, but also that toughness comes back. I used the word Tonka before. This whole thing is Tonka tough, and these tow hooks under here, I just love them. And you can get them in orange. That is a must do when you spec one of these. Right, we're in the world of Utes. It's all about numbers, isn't it? Let's talk grunt. 2.2 litre turbo diesel engine. It's based on the engine you'll find in the Carnival and the other big Kia SUVs. 154 kilowatts. I've done the comparisons for you. That is on a par with the Ford Ranger bi-turbo, and it's more powerful than cars like the Hilux, the D-Max, the Triton and Navara, all the other top four-cylinder Utes. Right, let's talk torque. 441 Newton meters. That's on a par with all the competition except for the Ranger and Hilux, who have 500 Newton meters. And it runs through an 8-speed auto. And fun fact for you, that's based on the transmission from the Kia Stinger. Now, something else worth mentioning, that every Kia Tasman is four-wheel drive. There are 5 different specifications, starting with the TX, which is 52,660, through to this one, the X Pro, which has everything. In fact, this one has a bit more as well, and that's 79,960. Now, along with the different specs, there's a heap of different customization options for the Tasman. Things like change the color of these wheel arch toppers, and obviously all the extras you see on this X Pro. And something else worth mentioning too, Kia New Zealand have tried very hard to use New Zealand manufacturers for some of the goodies you see here on this X Pro. Now, look, this is the first Ute from Kia, but they're no stranger to going off-roading, rough and tumble. For 50 years, they've been making vehicles for the military and also big 15-ton trucks. So they know about lugging loads and going tough places. So some other numbers about this truck: 25 centimeters of ground clearance. It'll wade in water up to 80 centimeters deep. There's a 3.5-ton tow rating. And then there's the whole go anywhere. There's all sorts of limited slip diffs, mechanical, and on the top X Pro you can also get electronic limited slip diff. There's all sorts of terrain response systems. This version has a crawl mode. And you know, 18,000 tests this car was put through to make sure it could live up to this. There was desert endurance tests. It was fully submerged. It sounds like one of those Top Gear stunts to see how tough a truck could be. Well, the Tasman has done it and survived. Okay, time to see what goes in the back. Nice soft closing tailgate. Now note, this has a few extras like this sliding tray. That's one of the options. Whoops. But let's talk about the length of the tray, and this is one of Kia's key points. At 15-12 millimeters, it's actually 50 millimeters longer than the Ranger. And yes, I did get the measuring tape out. It's also 1572 wide and 540 deep, over 1,200 litres of storage in the back. And if you need to charge power tools, or more importantly, keep some drinks cool in a portable fridge, there's a 240-volt power supply here. Actually run a big fridge, also one inside the cabin. So that's the Go Anywhere. Now for what I reckon is the top feature of the Tasman, and that's this cabin, because Kia have taken the best of their SUVs and even some of the EVs and added that to this truck. Things like this widescreen display, which looks like straight from the EV9, but then there's an overall feeling in this cabin of some of the really cool big American trucks, but at the same time it's super comfortable and very clever as well. For all the touchscreen, you've also got tactile buttons here for controlling the main features. Your drive control is right here, and it's made for right-hand drive, which is really, really cool. All these controls for the chassis and whatnot, and heaps of storage. And I love this one. Goes back, cup holders galore, dual wireless car phone chargers. And how's this? Talk about go anywhere. So go anywhere, work anywhere, and work from home, because you've got a laptop table right here. It is really like they ticked all the boxes and thought, what can we put in this truck? Let's make it feel like this big American, like a Silverado or something, but at the same time, all the Kia brains, things like the fact there's over-ear updates for the system, the display, and the electronics inside the car. And then they've used a whole lot of recycled materials as well. So it may not be an EV, but there's a touch of the environmental focus that you see in the EV line of Kias. I was just about to get out and I noticed this. These are probably the coolest door pulls I've seen in a long time. Mate, that's cool. Normally I just sit in the back seat, but there's actually so much to show you. Where do I start? Well, the back of the front seats, you've got storage here for cell phones. And how's this? It's sort of neoprene. It zips closed. Good way to store, I don't know, your iPad or anything like that. USB-C chargers on both of the seats, and class-leading space in these back seats. But here's where it gets cool. You've got storage under the seats. Nice. Check out this. They actually recline. Okay, now this is a pre-production model, which is why we're not driving it today. This will be available to Kiwis in August, the double cab version. There is also cab and chassis versions, both double and single cab, coming at the start of 2026. Oh, some other thing too, I said I'd mention the wheel arch toppers. I love this. Watertight storage up to 6 kilos. I reckon you catch a pretty decent fish and get it home in there, then wash it out. The other side, by the way, is where you fill up the diesel. Now, Kia are well known for their reliability, so the Tasman arrives with the perfect reputation already there. And then you've got this whole new styling direction. And now I've seen it in the flesh and taken it in. I'm going to be blunt, a bit like the styling. It works.